welcome to Springfield Career Insights. Tonight, we confront a painful truth: abuse within marriages. Not just physical, but emotional, financial, and psychological harm that hides behind vows and cultural silence. We ask, why do victims stay? Why do institutions delay? And what must change to protect dignity within the home? We are joined by His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, President of Springfield Research University, legal educator, and civic reformist. His work reframes domestic abuse as a public injustice, not a private misfortune. Welcome, President. Your voice brings both compassion and clarity.
Thank you, Advocate. Marriage must never be a license for cruelty. Dignity is not negotiable, and silence must never be the system's response.
Thank you, Professor. Let's begin with the silence. Why is marital abuse still treated as a private matter when its consequences are so public?
Thank you, Advocate. Let us begin with the silence. So, the silence that echoes louder than screams. The silence that hides bruises behind bridal veils and buries broken spirits within wedding vows. Why is marital abuse still treated as a private matter when its consequences are so public? Because culture has taught us. It has taught us that the home is sacred even when it is violent. That marriage is permanent even when it is cruel. That suffering is noble even when it is unnecessary. Because institutions have whispered, let them sort it out. Don't interfere. Marriage is complicated. And in that complication, justice is delayed, dignity is denied, and trauma becomes tradition. But I say, Advocate, there is nothing private about pain. There is nothing sacred about silence. There is nothing cultural about cruelty. When a spouse is abused, the republic, or rather the kingdom, is wounded. When a home becomes a hostage chamber, the constitution is mocked. And when silence becomes the system's response, the law becomes complicity. So let us break the silence with legislation, with education, with compassion that does not wait for bruises to heal before it believes. Let us declare marriage is not a shield for violence. It is a covenant of care. And when that covenant is broken, the republic, or rather the kingdom, must respond, not with pity, but with protection. Not with delay, but with dignity.
Thank you, Professor. Can emotional abuse, manipulation, isolation, control be as damaging as physical violence?
Thank you, Advocate. I say it can be worse, but people don't understand this. For physical wounds bleed, you see, but emotional wounds echo. They do not swell on the skin. They swell on the soul. Manipulation is not a moment, you see. It is a method. It rewrites reality until the victim doubts their own memory, their own worth, their own voice. And isolation is not just distance, it is disappearance. It removes the victim from friends, from family, from every mirror that might reflect their dignity. So, control is not just instruction, it is incarceration. It dictates what to wear, who to speak to, what to feel, until the victim becomes a shadow of who they once were. And yet, because there are no bruises, no blood, no broken bones, the world says, be grateful, at least it's not violent. But I say, emotional abuse is violence. It is slow, it is silent, it is suffocating. It kills confidence, it erodes identity, it dismantles dignity. So let us stop measuring pain by what we can see. Let us start believing survivors before they collapse. Let us treat emotional cruelty with the same agents as physical harm. For the wounds we cannot see are often the ones that never heal.
Thank you, Professor. What does it say about our society when victims are told to endure rather than escape?
Thank you, Advocate. It says we have mistaken suffering for sanctity. It says we have baptized pain and called it patience. It says we have built altars where victims kneel while abusers preach. We tell them, stay for the children, stay for the culture, stay for the vows. But we never ask, what is staying costing them? Their sanity, their safety, their soul. We have made endurance a virtue, but only for the violated, who do not ask abusers to change. We ask survivors to cope. We do not dismantle the violence. We decorate it with tradition. And so the home becomes a prison. The marriage becomes a sentence. And the victim becomes a statue, still silent and slowly eroding. But I say, endurance is not healing. It is not justice. It is not love. To endure what destroys you is not noble. It is tragic. Let us rewrite the gospel. Let escape be honored. Let survival be celebrated. Let living be seen, not as failure, but as freedom. For when society tells victims to endure, it is not protecting marriage. It is protecting abuse. And the republic or kingdom must never confuse loyalty with loss.
Thank you, Professor. Is cultural loyalty being weaponized to keep victims trapped in abusive marriages?
Thank you, Advocate. I say yes. Ruthlessly, repeatedly, and ritualistically. We have turned the culture into a cage where endurance is praised and escape is punished, where the victim is told, stay for the ancestors, stay for the family name, stay for the children. Even when staying means dying slowly. We have weaponized loyalty, not as love, but as silence, not as heritage, but as hostage taking. We tell women, you must submit. We tell men, you must never cry. we tell both marriage is forever, even if it kills you. But I said, culture must never protect cruelty. Tradition must never silence truth. And loyalty must never be demanded at the expense of dignity. True culture uplifts. It does not imprison. True loyalty protects. It does not punish. Let us interrogate the rituals that glorify suffering. Let us dismantle the myths that turn abuse into endurance. Let us declare no tradition is sacred if it sanctifies pain. For when culture becomes a weapon, the home becomes a battlefield. And the republic, rather the kingdom, must rise, not to defend the abuser's heritage, but to restore the victim's humanity.
Thank you, Professor. Should religious leaders be trained to recognize abuse, not just preach forgiveness?
I say yes, advocate, urgently, structurally, and unapologetically. For too long, the pulpit has offered the comfort to the abuser and the counsel to the victim. That sounds like surrender. You see? Forgive and forget. Pray and endure. Stay and be strong. But strength is not silence. And prayer must never replace protection. Religious leaders are gatekeepers of moral authority. When they fail to recognize abuse, they sanctify suffering. When they preach forgiveness without justice, they baptize betrayal. Let them be trained to read the signs of manipulation, to hear the silence behind the smiles, to see the bruises that do not bleed. Let them be taught that forgiveness is not a substitute for accountability. That reconciliation must never be forced. That living is not rebellion, it is rescue. Let theology be trauma-informed. Let sermons be survivor-sensitive. Let the scripture be wielded not as shame, but as shield. For when the pulpit protects the abuser, the altar becomes a courtroom where the victim is tried and the violence is dismissed. So I say, train the shepherds to guard the flock, not just guide it. Let their compassion be competent. Let their counsel be courageous. For the gospel of forgiveness must never be louder than the gospel of justice.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called Echoes of Justice.
Echoes of justice in the heart of Springfield, where justice calls, students rise, breaking down the walls. With passion and purpose, they stand tall, bridging theory and practice, answering the lost cause. Springfield Law Clinic, where dreams take flight, empowered in the people shining bright. From the courtroom to the streets we fight, for justice, for freedom, day and future minds. Navigating the system, leaving no one behind. With every case, every client they find, building confidence, problem solving, intertwined. Springfield Law Clinic, where dreams take flight, empowering the people, shining bright. From the courtroom to the streets we fight, for justice, for freedom, day and night. Techno beats and country soul, electronic rhythms make us whole. Whoa. Feel the power, feel the drive. Springfield Law Clinic, we thrive. Dance for justice, hearts ignite. Together we shine in the spotlight. Springfield Law, we stand tall. Oh, justice for all. Oh, Springfield Law, hear the call. Oh, together we won't fall. In our community, we make a stand, helping those in need, lending a hand with every victory. We expand, creating change across this land. Springfield Law Clinic, where dreams take flight, empowering the people, shining bright. From the courtroom to the streets we fight, for justice, for freedom, day and night. Together we stand, united and strong. Springfield Law Clinic, where we belong. With every step, every dance, every song, we fight for justice all day long.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. What role should law play when love becomes a license for cruelty?
Thank you, Advocate. The law must rise, not as a spectator of romance, but as a sentinel of dignity. For when love is weaponized, when vows become veils of violence, when the home becomes a hostage chamber, the law must not hesitate. It must intervene. Love is not above the Constitution. Marriage is not exempt from justice. And cruelty, even when wrapped in affection, is still a crime. The law must do more than punish. It must protect. It must believe survivors before bruises bloom. It must prosecute abusers, even when they wear wedding rings. It must dismantle the myth that private pain is beyond public remedy. Let the statute speak clearly. Emotional abuse is violence. I want to repeat this. Emotional abuse is violence. Financial control is coercion. Isolation is imprisonment. Manipulation is psychological assault. Let the courts be trained to read the silences, to hear the unsaid, to understand that not all wounds bleed. Let the police be equipped to respond with agency, not indifference. To protect with empathy, not suspicion. Let the law declare love is not a shield for cruelty. It is a covenant of care. And when that covenant is broken, justice must enter the home with courage, clarity, and compassion. For the republic, rather the kingdom, must never allow affection to become an alibi.
Thank you, Professor. Can financial dependency be considered a form of entrapment, and how do we break it?
Yes. When one partner holds the purse and the other is forced to beg, that is not partnership. Is it? It is imprisonment. Financial dependency is not just economic. It is emotional, psychological, and civic. It dictates choices, delays escape, and silences truth. The dependent partner cannot live because they cannot live. They stay not for love, but for survival. They endure not for peace, but for groceries, for rent, and for school fees. And society calls it loyalty. Culture calls it commitment. But I call it entrapment. So, how do we break it? First, we must teach financial literacy, not just in schools, but in homes, churches, and clinics. Let every citizen know how to earn, save, and escape. Second, we must create economic exit routes, shelters with stipends, legal aid with living allowances, vocational programs that restore autonomy. Third, we must criminalize financial control when it is used to trap, to punish, to silence. And fourth, we must reframe marriage not as a measure of money, but as a covenant of care. Let both partners contribute, let both partners access, let both partners decide. For when money becomes a weapon, love becomes a hostage situation, and the republic, rather the kingdom, must never allow currents to replace compassion. Let us declare dependence must never be demanded. Freedom must never be prized, and dignity must never be delayed by a debit card.
Thank you, Professor. Why do so many victims remain silent, and what systems have failed them?
Thank you, Advocate. Because silence is safer than disbelief. Because speaking invites shame, judgment, and sometimes punishment. Victims remain silent because the police ask, "Why didn't you leave?" Because the church says, "Forgive and endure." Because the family whispers, "Don't embarrass us." Because the law delays, the courts dismiss, and society doubts. They remain silent because every system built to protect them has become a theater of interrogation. They are asked to prove their pain, to justify their escape, to explain their bruises, even when those bruises are invisible. And so they retreat into quiet bedrooms, into rehearsed smiles, into the slow erosion of self. But I say, silence is not weakness. It is a survival strategy in a world that punishes truth. The systems have failed because they were built for evidence, not empathy, for procedure, not protection. Let us rebuild them. Let the police be trained to listen, not lecture. Let the courts be swift, not skeptical. Let the clinics be safe, not silent. Let the church be a refugee, not a rehearsal of shame. For every silent victim is a loud indictment of the kingdom's failure. or republic's failure. Let us declare silence must no longer be the safest option. Let systems speak first so survivors don't have to scream.
Thank you, Professor. Should marital counseling include trauma screening and legal literacy?
I say, advocate, it must. For counseling without context is comfort without clarity. When an advice without accountability is a rehearsal of harm. Too often, couples are counseled to reconcile, but never interrogated for trauma. The counselor is just busy trying to reconcile them, but never are they interrogating trauma. They are told to communicate, but never taught what constitutes cohesion. They are urged to forgive, but never informed of their legal rights. This is not healing. You see, it is a hazard. Trauma screening is not an accusation. It is a safeguard. It asks, is there fear behind the silence? Is there pain behind the patience? Is there history behind the hostility? Legal literacy is not a threat. It is empowerment. It teaches what is abuse, what is consent, what is enforcement, what is unacceptable. Let every counselor be trained, not just in empathy, but in ethics, not just in scripture, but in statutes. Let counseling become a civic space where love is not romanticized, but regulated. Where reconciliation is not rushed, but responsibly reviewed. For marriage is not just a motion, it is a legal covenant. And when that covenant is breached, the Republic must respond not with poetry alone, but with protection. So I say, advocate, let counseling evolve. Let it screen for trauma. Let it teach the law. Let it protect the vulnerable before they become victims. For healing must be structured, not sentimental. And dignity must be rebuilt with truth, not tradition.
Thank you, Professor. Is it time to redefine marital duty, not as submission, but as mutual dignity?
I say yes. Not just for the sake of progress, but for the sake of survival of love itself. For too long, marital duty has been scripted. Is it? It has been scripted as obedience, as silence, as sacrifice without reciprocity. We have taught wives to submit, but not husbands to honor. We have taught husbands to lead, but not to listen. We have built homes on a hierarchy, not harmony. So I say, submission without dignity is servitude. Leadership without empathy is tyranny. And duty without dialogue is dangerous. Let us redefine marital duty as a covenant of equals, where both partners protect, provide, and participate. Let duty mean showing up, not showing off. Let it mean listening, not lecturing. Let it mean choosing each other daily, not controlling each other endlessly. Let the vows be rewritten, not to obey, but to uphold, not to submit, but to support, not to endure, but to evolve. For marriage is not a monarchy, it is a ministry of mutual care. It is not a battlefield of roles, it is a sanctuary of respect. So I say, advocate, let duty be dignified, let love be liberated, let the home be governed, not by dominance, but by devotion. And let the Republic protect not just the institution of marriage, but the integrity of those within it.
Thank you, Professor. What happens when children grow up witnessing abuse? What legacy are we building?
Yes, thank you, advocate. We are building a republic, rather a kingdom of wounded mirrors. Children do not forget what they see. You want me to repeat this? Children do not forget what they see. They absorb it. They rehearse it. They inherit it. When a child watches a mother silenced, they learn that love means submission. When a child sees a father humiliated, they learn that silence is survival. When a child hears shouting, sees bruises, feels tension in the walls, they do not just witness violence, they internalize it. And so the cycle begins. The boy becomes a man who controls or collapses. The girl becomes a woman who endures or escapes too late. The home becomes a memory of fear, not a sanctuary of care. This is not parenting. That's what it is. It is programming. This is not heritage. It is harm. We are building a legacy where trauma is passed down like tradition, where pain is normalized and dignity is delayed. But I say, let us interrupt the inheritance. Let us teach children that love does not hurt, that partnership does not punish, that silence is not strength. Let schools screen for trauma. Let clinics counsel for the wounded. Let churches preach protection, not just perseverance. I'm so angry about the pastors. You know, they don't teach protection. They teach perseverance. Umendo unjalo. Umendo unjalo. For every child who witnesses abuse is a future citizen shaped by suffering. And the republic, rather the kingdom, must never be built on broken homes. Let us declare the legacy we leave must be one of healing, not haunting.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called Ilizwi Limited.
Easy when near Springfield, lapho umthetho ubiza abafundi bavuka baphula odongeni kokuthakazelela nangokuhlusiwe baphakama bakhumangisa ithiyori nokusebenza baphendula kubizela komthetho iSpringfield Law Clinic lapho amaphupho ethuthuka ukhuthaza abantu kukhanya kakhulu kusekele ekhulwini ukuya esitaladini silwa ngenhlonipho nenhlala kahle usuku nosuku Lapho ze-electronics zisenza sibemunye, zizwa amandla, zizwa umdlandla. I-Springfield Law Clinic siphumelela, dance for justice, hearts ignite, sihlangana sikhanye, zinkanyezi. I-Springfield Law, simile phezulu. Ubulungiswa kubo bonke. I-Springfield Law, thola ukubizelwa, ndawunonyesutha. Emphakathini wethu senza isinqumo, siza labo abaswele, sinika isandla. Ngokuthola yonke impumelelo sikhula, sakha ushintsho kulo mhlaba. I-Springfield Law Clinic, lo amaphupho etuthuka, ukhuthaza abantu, kukhanya kakhulu, kuswele ekhulwini ukuya sengadini silwa. Ngenhlonipho nenhlalakahle, usuku nosuku. Sihlangene, simunye futhi siqinile. I-Springfield Law Clinic, lapho siphila khona. Ngokuhamba kwesinyathelo, umdanso nengoma, silwa ngenhlonipho usuku lonke.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Can a marriage survive without emotional safety, and should it?
I say, survival is not the same as sanctity. A marriage may endure without emotional safety, but it will not elevate. It may continue, but it will not comfort. It may exist, but it will not heal. Emotional safety is the soul of the covenant. It is the space where vulnerability is welcomed, where truth is not punished, where presence is not weaponized. Without it, love becomes labor, intimacy becomes interrogation, and partnership becomes performance. The unsafe marriage teaches silence, not sincerity. It rewards endurance, not empathy. It demands proximity, but denies peace. So I ask, is survival the goal, or is sanctity the standard? For the kingdom must not celebrate marriages that merely persist. It must protect those that nourish. That dignity, that restore. Let us teach that emotional safety is not optional. It is foundational. Let us counsel not for the continuity alone, but for care. Let us legislate not for permanence, but for protection. For a marriage without emotional safety is not a home. It is a hostage situation. And I say, let love be safe, or let it be restructured. Let dignity be non-negotiable, even in the most sacred of unions.
Thank you, Professor. What institutional reforms are needed to protect victims before violence escalates or depression.
Thank you, Advocate. I say we must stop waiting for bruises. If people don't see blood and bruises, they don't think you are being hurt. So we must stop that. We must stop waiting for bruises before we believe. We must stop waiting for breakdowns before we intervene. First, let us reform the police from responders to recognizers. Let them be trained to hear the unsaid, to read the silences, to act before harm becomes a headline. Second, let clinics become civic sanctuaries. Let every nurse be trauma-informed. Let every doctor ask not just what hurts, but who hates you. You see? You see, when you go to consult a doctor, you have a problem, you have this, you're not feeling okay, whatever. You know what they say? What is worrying you? What is bothering you? What is stressing you? That's what I'm saying. What they are asking, what hurts you? They are not asking who is hating you. Because that's where the problem is what? Is coming from. That's what needs to be fixed. Not what I am feeling. Let mental health be mainstreamed, not marginalized. Third, let schools become early warning systems. Children carry the echoes of violence in their drawings, their silence, their sudden rage. Let teachers be trained to detect distress before it becomes disorder. You see? So, children at school that are coming from a fractured home where there's problems, if they are given tasks, they draw what they see at home and so on. You can see they are withdrawing because it's transferable. Fourth, let courts accelerate protection, not just adjudicate pain. Let restraining orders be swift. Let hearings be survivor sensitive. Let justice be timely, not theatrical. You are a lawyer. You guys, you take long to give a restraining order until someone is killed. Fifth, let churches and mosques be equipped with referral systems, not just sermons. Preach, 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 preach. Let faith leaders know where to send the wounded, not just how to pray for them. You see? Sixth, let social welfare be proactive. Let shelters be dignified. Let stipends be sufficient. Let escape be economically positive. For prevention is not a luxury, it is a legal obligation. And depression is not just a medical condition, it is often a civic indictment. Suffering until they get into depression. It's an indictment because we could have prevented it. So I say, let institutions evolve from reaction to readiness, from sympathy to structure, from delay to dignity. Because every victim protected early is a republic redeemed in time.
Thank you, Professor. Should abuse in marriage be treated as a national emergency, not just a domestic issue?
Thank you, Advocate. I say it must. For what begins in the bedroom bleeds into the boardroom, the classroom, the courtroom, and the clinic. Abuse in marriage is not confined to the home. It is a civic contagion. It shapes how children trust, how citizens relate, how leaders lead. Every bruised spouse is a wounded voter. Every silenced partner is a muted citizen. Every broken home is a fractured republic or a kingdom. And yet we call it domestic, as if the pain is private, as if the trauma is contained, as if the consequences do not ripple through generations, institutions, and economies. But I say, abuse in marriage is a national emergency. It demands budget, legislation, and mobilization. Let governments declare zero tolerance, not just in policy, but in practice. Let ministries of health, justice, and education collaborate to detect, prevent, and respond. Let shelters be funded. Let survivors be believed. Let abusers be prosecuted and not protected by tradition or a title. Let civic education teach that love is not a license and marriage is not immunity. For the republic cannot thrive while its homes are hostage chambers. And the constitution cannot stand while its citizens kneel in fear. So I say, let us elevate the crisis. Let us legislate with urgency. Let us protect with precision. Because when cruelty is common and silence is systemic, the nation itself is at risk.
Thank you, Professor. How do we support survivors without forcing them to relive their trauma publicly?
Thank you, Advocate. We begin by understanding that healing is not a performance. It is not a press conference. It is not a courtroom confession. Broadcast for civic applause. Survivors do not owe us their stories. They owe themselves their peace. And support must never be demanded. A parade of pain to prove its worth. Too often, systems say, speak so we can help. Disclose so we can believe. Testify so we can act. But I say, let us act before the testimony. Let us believe before the breakdown. Let us protect without spectacle. First, let us support be silent. Confidential clinics, anonymous helplines, safe houses with no cameras, no questions that reopen the wounds. Second, let justice be gentle. Trauma-informed courts, private hearings, legal counsel that shields, not exposes. Third, let society be sensitive, not viral interviews. No sensational headlines, no public pity masquerading as progress. Fourth, let healing be sovereign. Survivor-led, survivor-paced, survivor-defined. For trauma is not theater. And dignity must never be traded for documentation. Let us build systems where silence is respected, where privacy is protected, where support does not require a sacrifice of self, because the kingdom must never demand that survivors bleed in public to be believed in private.
Wow, this is amazing. Let's take a commercial break and stay tuned.
At Springfield Research University, we don't teach to pass exams, we encode futures. Grounded in Education 6.0 and powered by STEMA, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine and automation, we deliver modular, sovereign learning across undergraduate, master's and doctoral programs. Explore our prospectus, where every curriculum is designed to stematize every discipline, dignify local authorship, and credential transformative knowledge. Be stematized, be sovereign. Here, knowledge is authored, not borrowed. Curriculum is credentialed, not copied. Every graduate becomes an architect of transformation. With 2 annual intakes, March and September, the path to innovation is always open. From the logic of automation to the soul of indigenous intelligence, SRU is where tomorrow is designed. Springfield isn't just a university, it's an epicenter of epistemic dignity. Join the movement. Study where learning governs itself. Springfield Research University, the globe is here. Where are you?
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Is silence in the face of marital abuse a form of complicity from churches, families, and the state?
You think of it. I say, silence is not neutral. It is a decision. It is a posture. It is a policy. When families say, don't shame the name, they are not preserving heritage. They are protecting harm. When the churches say, let God fix it, they are not preaching faith. They are postponing justice. When the state says, it's a domestic matter, it is not protecting privacy. It is refusing responsibility. So, silence is complicity when it delays intervention, when it doubts the victim, when it defends the abuser with the culture, scripture, or bureaucracy. Every ignored cry is a civic betrayal. Every dismissed complaint is a constitutional failure. Every delayed response is a declaration. Your pain is not our priority. But I say, silence is not sacred. It is systemic. It is strategic. And it must be dismantled. Let families be taught that loyalty must never override liberty. Let churches be trained to shepherd the wounded, not shield the wolves. Let the state be reformed to act before the funeral, not after the headlines. For every institution that remains silent is not just passive, it is complicity. And the republic, rather the kingdom, must rise to declare that silence is no longer acceptable where dignity is at stake.
Thank you, Professor. And finally, if marriage is meant to protect, not punish, who speaks when the vows are broken by violence?
Thank you, Advocate. The kingdom, or rather the republic, must speak. The law must speak. The conscience of the nation must rise and speak with clarity, courage, and compassion. For when vows are violated, it is not just a personal betrayal. It is a civic breach. It is a fracture in the moral architecture of our society. Who speaks? Not just the victim, for they may be too wounded, too weary, too silenced by shame or survival. Who speaks? Not just the family, for they may be bound by tradition, by fear, by the myth of reputation. Who speaks? Not just the church, unless it is willing to trade ritual for rescue, doctrine for dignity. So I say, advocate, let the republic, kingdom speak. Let every institution echo the truth that love must never be violent and marriage must never be a mask of cruelty. Let the courts speak with urgency. Let the clinics speak with empathy. Let the schools speak with vigilance. Let the media speak with responsibility. Let every citizen speak, not in gossip, but in guardianship. For when violence breaks the vow, silence is not sacred, it is surrender. And the republic, rather the kingdom, must never surrender its duty to protect, its power to intervene, its promise to uphold dignity. When love has failed. So I say, advocate, let us speak, not just for the broken, but for the future. Let our voices become verdicts. Let our compassion become covenant. Because when marriage punishes, the nation must protect. Thank you, advocate, for having me.
Thank you, President, for naming the violence that hides behind vows. Your insistence on dignity, legal protection, and institutional courage reminds us that silence is not safety, and that marriage must never be a license for cruelty. To our audience, if you are ready to confront abuse, protect survivors, and embed emotional safety into every home, Springfield Research University awaits you. Visit www.springfieldresearchuniversity.net and join the mission to restore dignity where it was denied. That brings us to the end of this courageous edition of Springfield Career Insights. May tonight's reflections offer truth, tenderness, and transformation. I am Clarence, your host. Good night.
Hey, hey, siyakubuka, tikiti lefu Tanzania kiwa. Hey, hey, siyakubuka, sonke siyavumelana, ngemjululo muhle sonke similela. Hey, hey, siyakubuka, tikiti lefu Tanzania kiwa. Hey, 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 siyakubuka, sonke siyavumelana, ngemjululo muhle sonke similela.